Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Ours is a place where dreams take flight, voices are heard, and stories are shared. This is where cultures meet, connections are formed, and ideas are transformed into action. This is your destination for authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations. We're where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover our world of education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our USA Global TV channel and download our USA Global TV app. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. With heartfelt thanks to our executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, music scored by Yifei Tang from Cloud Road Music, creative direction by Paul Garcia, and I'm Al Cini, and I'm very proud to be part of the USA Global TV and Radio family. So join us here at USA Global TV and Radio. Make us your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Thank you for being a part of our global community. Let's inspire together.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we proudly provide world-class entertainment, education, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is You as a Whole, Body, Mind, and Soul. And for those of you who have been watching the show from the beginning, you know that Justin MIRIGLIANI is the host of this show, doing a tremendous job, one of our top 10 television show hosts here at USA Global TV and Radio. And Justin took some time off, which I really applaud him for, and he is back. I'm super excited that he is back joining us today, and he will be coming out and sharing what has been going on with him. All right, a little drum roll there for Justin. So just to give you a little bit of background, Justin and I met many years ago through the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. We both have experienced issues with ulcerative colitis, and Justin's journey has been different than mine. But Justin is a business owner, he is a father, and he is a really good friend. He's someone who really leads with his heart. And what I really love about him is he just tells you how it is. And so let's welcome back the star of our show, who will be taking the show over from now on, Justin MIRIGLIANI. Hello, Justin.
Hey, Dr. Jacalyn, it's great to be back.
Thank you so much. You back. It's been, what, 2.5 months, 3 months?
3 months, yeah. 3 months.
Well, you left some big shoes for me to fill, so I did the best I could with the show. And since you are the creator, you came up with the title of the show, I'm going to be moving us around here now so you can officially take the show back.
I got the keys, right?
That's right. You've got the keys.
And if you look, I actually got younger while I was out.
Yeah, you did. You did get younger. What's your secret for that?
Beard dye.
You know, I think that you did go through a phase where you shaved everything off, right? And then you grew it back?
Yeah, I did. And the problem was it was two-tone. So when I trimmed it really short, the gray hair, you couldn't see it. It looked like patches that were empty. So I either had to get rid of it or make it darker and blend it. So I did that.
Well, it looks terrific. I like it all the one color. I liked it the other way too, but it's good to try things and see what happens. Yeah. So the title of this show is You as a Whole, Body, Mind, and Soul. And this episode is Beyond Survival, a Journey to Hope and Healing. I'm going to turn the show over to you. I'm still here. We can interact. But why don't you share with the audience whatever it is that you'd like to share? For those who don't know, we have no script. I have not talked to Justin specifically about what he's been going through. I don't know what he's going to say. So let's give him a round of applause for his courage to come forward. Justin, it's all over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. So everybody, thank you for continuing to tune in. I saw some of the shows that Dr. Jacalyn did while I was gone. They were great. She really did a great job of keeping things going the way they were. And I hope you stay with us now as I come back. But I was gone for 3.5 months or 3 months, and it was because of severe depression, anxiety, and obsessive compulsive disorder, which I've had my whole life. I've had that since I can remember. I was in therapy at 8 years old, 3 days a week. So it was pretty intensive therapy. Over the last year, 2 years, and especially this past year, things have gotten very difficult in my life. And I've talked about that. I've talked about the divorce that I'm going through and almost done now. And my business is now not doing as well as it was because of economy and because of AI and a bunch of other reasons that we just don't have time to get into. I've been doing that for 23 years, so it's hard to see that go. My charity, we had that big game scheduled for all of you who used to watch the show for months, know that we had that big Checkmates ice hockey game that was going to come up. And I had been so excited about that for over a year. We had some really big names that were going to be involved, and that fell through, and that was another crushing blow. And it was just one thing after the other, and I wound up going to which IOP, intensive outpatient program for depression, anxiety, and then unfortunately, in my last week, I received some pretty bad news regarding some things going on domestically, and it was very painful. And there were things said about me that I it just broke me, snapped my back, and I wound up in Bryn Mawr Hospital for 8 days in the psych ward for depression, for anxiety, mostly depression. It got to the point where I couldn't even function anymore. I was in bed some days 17 hours and just not able to get up. And that's when I realized that it was time to make the decision to either get better or suffer and potentially just waste my life away. And I had a choice. I had a fork in the road, and I made the choice. And the choice was get the help that I needed. Just like if I had when I did have ulcerative colitis and I needed to have my colon removed. Most of you know I'm an ostomy patient. I didn't do that surgery at home. I didn't do that surgery. I can't do that surgery now, even though I've been through it. And just like that, mental illness is another thing that I could not defeat on my own. I needed the help. I needed to go to a place that knew what they were doing. And I'm happy to say right now that I'm feeling probably as good as I did since I was in college. Um, I've had some terrible things happen to me since I've been out of the hospital. I was in another IOP 4 days a week, graduated last week. So I feel good about that. And even though, like I said, things are not going great still, I still am struggling financially, and my business is still struggling. And unfortunately, I was in a serious car accident 3 weeks ago. My car was totaled one day after I paid it off. The car was totaled. I owned it literally for one day. But I'm happy to say that none of this stuff has broken me now. I just take it in stride. Of course, I'm not thrilled about having to buy a new car after having paid off my other car. I'm not thrilled about going through a divorce. I'm not thrilled about having to sell a house. But these things are not breaking me anymore because I now have the tools to stop it from doing that. And that was the key for me. So when I got in that accident, that was just 3 weeks ago, and I got a lot of back pain. Need to get an MRI to see if I don't need surgery. So that's something that's coming up. I also need two other surgeries for other issues, and nothing major, but still, I mean, these are things that would have really set me back, and I'm able to smile through it. I'm able to work through it. I'm substitute teaching now, and I'm on my off days and working with kids, and that's a lot of fun. And I can't play hockey right now with my back, and I can't go to the gym, and those are things that would destroy me. But again, now I have the tools to say, all right, you'll get back there one day. It's not the end. It's just a little break in time. And the other thing is, I've become so much more, and I always was an empath, but I've become so much more empathetic and sympathetic to other people. I saw so many people who were so far way worse than I was as far as mental illness goes. People who amputated limbs because they were so despondent, or they were delusional and thought they heard voices telling them to do those things. And people who actually said they would just they don't care anymore, that their life is over. And we're not talking about just regular, your regular Joe. We have some people in there. There was one celebrity in there. There were engineers, there were medical people there, doctors, other psychiatrists who were there as patients. So it's not discriminatory. Mental illness can affect anyone at any time. What I learned is that everybody is one tragedy away, or one loss away, or something happening to them that could put them in a state where they just don't have the skills to cope with it. And it's okay not to have those skills. That's why we have professionals who give us those skills. So I can't say enough about the people at Bryn Mawr Hospital who brought me around. I went voluntarily. Some people were not. They were brought there by either the police, or an ambulance came to get them, and they were involuntary. I was voluntary. One of the things that stopped me from doing it for a while was the fear that people would label me and say, this guy's crazy. He's been in a mental hospital. But you know what? At the end of the day, what difference does it make why I was in the hospital, what ailment it was? My colon was sick and it was taken care of. If your heart is sick, it's taken care of. If your throat is sick, like right now, I have a scratchy throat, as you can tell. You take medicine, you get it taken care of. Why do we have a problem with the brain and taking care of that organ, which is probably, and not even probably, it is the most important organ that you have. It's the one that controls everything else. And yet, when that organ gets sick, people look at you differently, and they're afraid. There are levels of mental illness. It's not, the Ted Bundys or the psychopaths. There are those folks for sure. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but not everyone who has been in a mental facility has that type of mental illness. And I think that that's something we need to get out there. So I'm rebranding my charity, Checkmates, so that we reach out to more than just people with Crohn's and colitis and ostomy. I mean, that's a really important thing to me, because I did have ulcerative colitis. Dr. Jacalyn's been open about her battle with ulcerative colitis. We know a lot of people who have inflammatory bowel disease, and also have um, autoimmune diseases, which kind of go together. There are a lot of medications that are overlap. So MS, Graves' disease, there are a bunch of diseases that can be treated by different medications that also are treated for ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, because they're autoimmune diseases. But I also want to reach out to people, and help people who are suffering with mental illness as well. I think that's another one of the underserved communities. And um, one of the things that I really would like to figure out how we can do this, and I've talked to some people about it, is to help people financially. One of the biggest problems that have affected people are the fact that work and finances are the number one reason that lands people in these facilities. And some of these people have not worked for months, maybe years. And I know that people say, well, no handouts, you got to fight for what you get, and you got to work for what you get. I understand that. But there are people who just can't. And I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. So there's got to be a way. I know one person who was in this ward with me, and we would talk, and she was telling me that she was losing her business, she was losing her house, had no family around, was afraid to be homeless. When we drive by people on the street, we don't know how they got there. We don't know. So I really want to find a way that we could get people back on their feet if they miss work for a year, or their businesses fail. I was able to go to my parents' house and be there and be taken care of when I was sick. And now that I'm not sick anymore, I want to be the one taking care of people. So I see that we do have some comments. So please, let's take a look at those. Hey, Claire. There's Claire, good friend of mine. There's Rachel, another good friend of mine. I love the show. Glad he's back. Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. Claire says, looking good. Thank you, Claire. I appreciate it. Love the show. No offense, Jacalyn. No, of course, Jack and Dr. Jacalyn's always going to be part of this show. So, hey, Lucille, thank you for checking in. I appreciate it. Thank you, Claire. So glad you're back, Justin. You're doing amazing. I really appreciate that. Craig Shapiro, Shap, stigma, judging, and unwillingness to really understand humanity. I agree with you, Shap. That is exactly what it is. And I've been guilty of it too. I'll tell you that right now. Before I went into the hospital, and that's what I mean by becoming more empathetic. I at times, to my shame, would look at people in, let's say, Kensington, and see them as drug addicts and say, well, why don't they just stop? It's their own fault. They put themselves in that position because, they take drugs and they made a choice to take the drugs. All right, maybe the first time you do it, it was the choice, but then after that, it's not a choice. I have literally seen people who are literally, and I'm not saying this as figuratively, literally cannot live without drugs. Just cannot function without drugs, and some of them can't function on or off the drugs. So the goal is to try to get people to understand that these aren't decisions. I didn't choose to be depressed. I didn't choose to be anxious. I didn't choose to have the things that happened to me happen. Lose my uncle right after I got separated. That wasn't a choice that I made. To not see my kids more than once a week was not a choice that I made. All the things that have to sell a house that I lived in with my family for 20 some years, or I'm sorry, 18, 19 years. That is something that we didn't choose. These are things that came down the pike, and sometimes things hit you in the face. Family members who are sick, and we have to deal with that. Aging parents, all things that have crashed on me at the same time. I could see why people look for an escape, because I did. And when I was looking for an escape, I did not turn to drugs or alcohol, but I did self-harm. I would punch myself. I didn't self-harm to the point where I was going to be hospitalized, but I would pound on my chest in anger and make big bruises on my chest, and I'd wail away on a box, punch the box until my knuckles were bleeding, and I was just so angry, and everything hurt mentally. I felt like I was burning through the bed when I would lay on the bed, or if I was on the couch. Many, many prayers to God, please take my life away, stop my heart in the middle of my sleep, get me out of this. I don't care anymore. And people would say, well, you got kids and you can't do that. And boy, you become so selfish when you're in that position. You really do. And it's not, I don't look at that with guilt. That's just part of the disease. So I've given myself grace to say, hey, look, you are in a bad place. You had a disease. You were treated for it. And now you're on the right road. You're coming back. And we have 2 more comments. So let's check in on those. And there's my Aunt Janet. Hearts, thank you very much. She was a big part of my recovery. Sue Adams, Britell, thank you. She said, hey, Justin. Hello, Susan. My aunt said I cheesed. Yeah, so that's an inside joke in our family, that when my aunt one time lost her temper over grated cheese, and she went bananas, and she doesn't even really realize why she went crazy, but she cheesed. So now when anybody in the family loses our temper, or we go crazy or go off, we say we cheesed. And Aunt Janet is the reason that we came up with that. So we do have a commercial coming up. I'm going to take Shap's comment right after the commercial, but we do have a commercial coming up, and then we'll take a look at Chef's comment.
Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? In a world quick to judge, one book dares to reveal the hidden cost of silence. Discover holy but harmful, the silent sin of judgment, how hidden judgments destroy relationships and damage lives, by Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. The Amazon #1 bestseller that's transforming the way we understand ourselves and the way we see others. Pick up the companion workbook to uncover your own hidden judgments and learn how to break free from them. Available now on Amazon and at fine bookstores worldwide.
All right, here we are again. So, Dr. Jacalyn, if you could put that comment up by Shap again. So Shap says it's much easier to not get educated than to get educated. Also, whether we like it or not, we live in a quick soundbite America. Lastly, bias is dangerous. Agreed. Getting people to realize their bias is tough when listening to an echo chamber, which is much easier. And Chap is right. Chap is right. And there's my sister Lindsay. I remember how many lives. I just remember how many lives you touch. You're an inspiration. Thank you, Lindsay. And Lindsay was a great comfort to me as well. Went with me to the hospital with my mom the day that I went in, and they were great. They really allowed me to be weak, and they allowed me to fall apart and let the bottom fall out, but they didn't let me sink. They held me up, and then I got better. And that's look, are there going to be bad days in my life still? Are there going to be days that are going to be soul crushing? Yeah, there are. I know that. Someday I'm going to lose my parents, and there's not a thing I can do about it. I can't change it. But the thing I can do is lean on the tools that I have and say to myself that you can get through this because you've gotten through other stuff before. And that really is the key. That really is the key. No, you cannot. I've seen what it's like. I felt what it's like to think that it's over, to literally think that your life is never going to get better again. And sadly, there are some people that I've kept in touch with. I've kept in touch with everyone that I was in the hospital with. I called us Flight 93. I named us Flight 93 because if you think about 9/11, Flight 93 was a group of people who boarded a plane on 9/11, 2001, who didn't know each other. They didn't know each other at all. They were all strangers. By the end of that flight, as it crashed, and maybe an hour before it crashed, this group of people who didn't know each other at all became one. They were a team, and they worked together, and they built something and hatched a plan to save probably the White House or the Capitol from being hit by that plane. So they went from people who didn't know each other at all to being almost as intimately close as you could be with any other human being as you're dying together. You know you're dying, and you're dying together. And that's why I said to the people who were with me that we're Flight 93. We didn't know each other before that week. All of us in our own battle with pain, all of us struggling to survive, all of us not knowing if we would survive or if we even wanted to survive. And then all of a sudden, we're there together. Now, sadly, some are still there and haven't been able to break away, and others have left, and they unfortunately just give up. They gave up, and they no matter what, they don't want to deal with anybody anymore. So I accept where they are, and I delete their phone number if they say to, and I don't contact them, but I still pray for them, and I still hope that someday that turns around for them. But sometimes you got to think about yourself, and I don't think I did that enough. I think I did a lot of worrying about other people, what other people thought, and did I do this right? Did I do that right? Needing too much confirmation on things. Is this the right way to think? Is that the right way to think? Is this the right thing to do? Is that the right thing to do? And it just became where I have to be who I am and live my life the way I am. Whether and I don't buy the whole I don't care what anybody thinks of me thing. I think that's a bunch of garbage. I think that people do care what people think about them. I think every one of us, or at least every one of us should want to have people walk away from us and say what a pleasure it was to be with that person, and what that person can do for me. How does that person rub off on me? And people could leave you in different ways. They could leave you and think, what a jerk. This guy is just full of himself, and where he's nasty, and he's short with people, and he's always in a bad mood, and I don't want to be with him or her. Or you can leave people saying, I wish that this lasted longer. I wish I was with this person a little bit longer. I can't wait till I see them again, or I'll call them in a week just to see how they're doing. Those are important things. And I couldn't be those things until I fixed myself. And I also have learned that I can't fix anybody else. I could listen. And I do. People have come to me, and obviously I would never betray their trust, but they'll say to me, I don't have the ability to come out and say what I'm going through, but I have also been in a psych ward. You will be surprised how many people have been to a psych ward. It's way more than you think. I promise you. I can tell you that with no hesitation whatsoever. Other people have said to me, I wish I went to a psych ward because I had a couple of suicide attempts. That's what you want to avoid, because suicide attempts could be successes. And if they are, you can't fix that. You can't turn that around. You can't say, well, you know what? I didn't mean it. I wish I didn't do it. It's too late. So if you feel that way, if you get those feelings, yeah, you hopefully have people to turn to and talk to. But more importantly, call 988. Go to a hospital. Go to a psych ward. See a psychologist. See a psychiatrist. See if you need medication. These are all things that you need to do to save your own life. If you are bleeding from the neck, you would not hesitate. You would call an ambulance and have surgery to have that repaired. Otherwise, you'd bleed out and die. Why is it different that if your brain is trying to kill you by making you think that the best option is to end your life? Why is it different? Why would you not go to the hospital? Why would you not get the professional help that you need? And I have been guilty of this myself, trying to talk people out of it. I'm not a professional. I can't. I've learned that. I don't have the ability. I don't have the training to save people who are in a mentally ill state. Doesn't mean you're always going to be mentally ill. But if you're in that state, I can't fix that for you. And nobody else can except for professionals, people who know what they're doing. The fly by night, just do this, just do that. I tried all that stuff. I tried all the self-help um, podcasts and things. It just didn't work because I didn't have the tools that I needed. I didn't know what to ask for. I didn't know what I needed. And I found out because there are professionals who've been through this with many people before. And that's important. So I would suggest, if you run into somebody who is struggling with mental illness, absolutely be an ear for them, listen to them, let them cry on your shoulder, whatever they need to do. But at the same time, give them a nudge if you can to get the help that they need. I was so dead against having to go to that hospital, and I wasted so much time being miserable and being to the point where life is impossible. I wish I had gone to that hospital probably 6 months ago instead of in July, late July, early August. I was there for 8 days. That's it. Some people were there for 40, 50, 60 days. Some people I met there aren't getting out until Thanksgiving. So people are all in different places. And all I did there when I walked the hallways would just talk to people and learn about them. Didn't try to fix anything. Didn't try to get into their business. If they wanted to tell me what went on, I let them tell me. If they didn't want to tell me, I didn't ask questions. I just let them go and let them. And it's amazing how people will open up to you if you just sit there and listen. And the things that I was told, people who are going through so many different hardships and delusions, things that they would never, no one would ever want to go through, telling me about hearing voices and seeing people and feeling like people are against them, or that they're being chased by the mob, or these things that rationally I think they know that that's not true, but for some reason their mind is not letting them understand that. And it's not their fault. We look at people, and I'm not saying we, because I don't, but I've seen people laugh at people who are acting crazy, or people who seem to be, not all there, or people who are strung out on drugs, and people who are just not acting what we consider normal. But there's a story behind every one of those. And I didn't see it as well until I was in the hospital. See, that's what I got to learn in the hospital. Not only for myself, but for other people too. That it's more than that. And so many more people have reached out to me that I could, it's amazing to me. People who, I probably had 10 or 15 friends tell me I've attempted suicide. It's so much more prevalent than people think. The reason why that is because people are afraid to talk about it. They don't say, I had a suicide attempt, because then everybody will, or not everybody, but a lot of people will judge them and say, well, there's something dramatically wrong with them. No, more often than not, people do wind up in positions where they have suicidal ideation. It's more than half. It's actually much more than half. And that's the people who admit it. Anxieties, 70% of people have an anxiety disorder of some sort or another. 70%. That's diagnosed. That doesn't account for people who will not admit that they suffer from anxiety. So bump that number up. It's probably closer to 90%, probably even 100%. If you really stop and think about it, have you never had moments where you had anxiety that was through the roof? Or have you never had moments where there was despair? How am I going to pay that next bill? Can I afford to put food on the table? For me, my business is failing now because of circumstances that are beyond my control. I could panic about it, and I did. I panicked about it, got depressed about it, gave up, said, forget it. I tried so hard. I had it 23 years, and now all of a sudden the rug's pulled out. I'm done. I'm finished. I'll find something else. I'll just find something else. Like I said, 3 weeks ago, I got in that car accident, and that would have put me in bed for probably days. I would have been destroyed. Now, did I get angry? Yeah. I got rear-ended by somebody who was tailgating me. I actually got hit, and I was going about 25, 30 miles an hour, and my car was totaled by somebody in a truck. So it wasn't like I was stopped and they just didn't see me. They just ran right through the back of my car. Did I get out and get angry and scream and yell? You bet I did. As my Aunt Jana would say, I cheesed. But that's normal. When something like that happens, you're going to get angry. When somebody does something that's reckless and that causes your damage to your property, damage to your body, yeah, you're going to get mad. It's okay to get mad. Now, did I pull the guy out of the truck and beat him senseless? No. That would be an inappropriate response to that action. But I did yell. I did scream, but calmed down, went home, went to the hospital, got x-rays, stayed calm, joked around with the nurses and the doctors, and just said, all right, well, I'm going to reframe this. And that's a big thing that I learned about it, is reframing. I took a different route that day. I took a different route that day to go home. And if I didn't take that route, I wouldn't have been rear-ended. But who's to say if I took the other route, I would have been killed in a head-on collision? See, that's reframing. That's what I've learned to do. My marriage is ending. And I could say, well, then my life's over, that, it's over. And I'm never going to, that part of my life is done. It's over. I might as well pack it in. Or I could reframe it and say, okay, it's sad that happened and it's sad that it's ending, but maybe a different relationship is coming down the pike someday. And maybe that will be how my life is and how I'll spend my life. Reframing is a big key to all of this. It's not, if you're late because you forgot to turn off the stove or something, you had to go back home and you're late. How do you know that you didn't save yourself from being killed in an accident or any other thing that could have possibly happened? You don't know. The only ones you know about are the ones that happen, right? When somebody's in an accident or somebody's hurt, you say, wow, if only they had been 5 minutes later, if only they had been 5 minutes earlier. But we'll never know the ones that we missed because they didn't happen. So that's how I'm going to live the rest of my life. I'm going to be reframing. I'm going to be looking at things, terrible things when I lose people that I love, family members, friends that who pass away. Yeah, it's sad. It's going to hurt. And it always does. It rips your heart out every time. But the reframing is, you had those days, you had those memories, you had those times, and they don't go away. And if you believe, like I believe, you'll be together forever, eventually, in what I believe in eternal life. So that's the reframing. You can look at it as, this is a loss. This is going to be something I can't get over. Or you can look at it as, it's something I can get over. It's going to take a while. I'm not saying that you don't feel the pain. I'm saying that you go beyond the pain. And that's really the key. So we'll talk more about this in other shows. I know we're running out of time and I want to bring Dr. Jacalyn back and kind of wrap things up. But my main focus tonight was to just let you know that it's normal. If you're scared, if you're depressed, if you're hurting, we all are. And we can all get better. So Dr. Jacalyn, if you want to come back in, I don't know if you, there you are.
I'm still here producing the show.
There you go.
Well, I just want to tell you, I feel this new energy coming from you. I see it light up on your face. I hear it in the way you're speaking and the passion and conviction that you have. And I'm just so proud of you and so happy for all the work that you've accomplished and how you continue to inspire people. And I think for me, the most meaningful part of the show, you just actually pulled it all together with reframing things and looking at things as, why is this happening for me instead of why is this happening to me? So congratulations. You have taken everything that's happened to you and you've reframed it into a beautiful, positive package. And it sounds like you don't have any anxiety or regrets or anger that is lingering and that you're going to bring forward with you. And I think that's a very difficult thing to do, but I'm very proud of you for doing it.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. And like you said, with the anger, especially, it's really, really gone. I mean, I've had so many things happen to me since I was in the hospital and since I've been in my IOP where the old me would have gone ballistic or cheesed. And I just don't anymore. Just the other day, somebody had been talking about me behind my back and I knew about it and he came up to me to shake my hand. And my first thought was tell him to get out. I shook his hand. So it changes things when you put things in perspective.
It absolutely does. So I'll let you close out your show and let people know where you're going to be here every week at the same time, anything that you want to share with people. But I personally am thrilled to have you back and just most importantly, to be able to call you my friend and get together with you in person so that we can have some more fun times together.
I'm looking forward to it. We'll have to work out. My back's better.
Absolutely. I'm in.
Sounds good. All right. So you can find me on my website, justforyoutc.com. You could email me at I'm sorry, email me at justin@justforutc.com. Checkmates is being rebranded, so we're going to be working on that website, www.checkmatescharity.com. My email there, justin@checkmatescharity.com. And we got some really cool things coming up to make some money for people who are down on their luck or sick. And there are a lot of great things coming. So please keep staying tuned. Please go to the sites and help us help other people get out of the hole that I was in. Thank you all for your loyalty, for all the people who came back, and for everybody who's watching. I really appreciate it. I appreciate Dr. Jacalyn. You know I love you, and I'm thankful for all that you've done for me. And I'll see you next Monday, everybody. Have a great week.
Which of these 5 statements sounds mostly like you? 1. I often wake up in the middle of the night worrying about my future. 2. I'm angry or resentful towards a specific person. 3. I have anxious, obsessive, compulsive thoughts throughout the day. 4. I have an addiction like smoking, drinking, shopping, sugar, or social media. And 5. I feel that I'm wasting away my life. Hello, I'm Dr. Alkistis Agio, and for over 25 years, I've been coaching and training people from all over the world to transform their fears, insecurities, anxiety, and anger into mental and emotional freedom. I'm confident that my simple 3-step method based on Greek philosophy can help you to transform into the joyful, confident, free human being that you deserve to be. I want to invite you to join my weekly online coaching group to finally get the results that you want. Look, you've tried it alone so far and you've had some okay results, but let's face it, you're still feeling stuck right now, spinning your wheels. Einstein said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Now, unless you realize this as a fact, that you are a prisoner of your own mind, you can't move forward. I'm here to support you, as well as the whole community that we are co-creating. Stop feeling stuck. Stop feeling depressed. You don't have to do it alone, and alone isn't working anyway. Sign up today, and I'll meet you on the inside of our amazing weekly group call. I guarantee that you'll make progress from the very first session.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.